All right, Clarence Pitsch served in the U.S. Navy from 1969 to 1973 as a communication technician. Now, first off, you got your start because you said that you really had a lot of patriotism. You really wanted to serve. So just tell me about why you chose to do that.
I got out of high school and I went to college, my first year of college, and I just really kind of had no idea what exactly I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And I knew that they were coming up with the lottery for draft
Right.
purposes. And I just decided at the same time that I just wanted, I was a patriot. My dad served in the Navy, and I wanted to follow in his footsteps.
Now, you talked about how your dad served in the Navy. What did he tell you about his time serving?
Oh my goodness, my dad's got letters that we still have today from his time. And when my dad was in the service back in the Second World War, he had got as far as the South Pacific, and they were just getting ready to go through the Panama Canal into from the Southern Atlantic into the Pacific. And the Red Cross contacted him because my grandfather had suddenly passed away. My grandmother was already passed away, and he was the oldest boy left at home since my oldest uncle, my Uncle Delmer, was already in Manchuria in the war. So they brought him home through the American Red Cross to take care of his other 6 siblings.
Wow. So it started, a little bit of a heritage there. Now, you guys started in 1969. You reported to boot camp at the Great Lakes in Evanston, Illinois. Tell me about your experience there. What all did you learn?
Oh, yes, sir. I didn't realize that when I went into the Navy, I was pretty cocky,
Yeah.
just a cocky kid. And I didn't realize how immature I was until I went into boot camp. And believe me, if you've never been there, they can completely strip you down. All of your brogues and bistro and knock you down, strip you down to nothing. And then you realize when you come back what you need to do and what it means to be a real man.
Right. So tell me a little bit about your experience too, because obviously there wasn't really a way to communicate other than letters with family and things. So did that kind of concern you that something might happen back home while you were gone?
It always concerned me, but you learn to live with it.
So you started in Pensacola after boot camp. Tell me about the wide array of things that you learned throughout being stationed in different states and different cities throughout the United States.
Pensacola was training center, Naval Communications Training
Okay.
Center through the Naval Security Group, and that was extremely disciplined. Everything we did was top secret work. All of us had top secret crypto clearances. And a lot of our training there, not only the hands-on work that we were going to be doing in our careers, but also the security aspect of the job, the responsibility for that was paramount to what we did.
Right.
And from there, moving on to the different states, it was just a matter of excitement. Every new place you went to was exciting. The first 2 or 3 months just flew by because everything was new to you.
Yeah, everything was new and probably new people too that you didn't really know before. Now, do you still keep in contact with a lot of people that you served with?
I have friends that I met in the Navy that I still contact almost every single day to this day, yes.
Wow. Now, after you spent all that time in the United States, you also were actually sent over to Japan on a short assignment over there. So tell me about the culture shock over there and what you were over there to do.
It was just so exciting. The tenuousness, not knowing the language, going to a foreign
Right.
country, going all by yourself, not knowing what's going to happen, what's going on. It's a little bit scary, but the excitement, I just love the adventure and the excitement. And what a culture. What a wonderful, wonderful people.
So now you got out of the Navy rather in 1973, but before that you went back to California and you were actually stationed on the El Dorado, a warship. And once that was decommissioned, you actually got reassigned. Now tell me about what it was like and what the El Dorado means to someone that doesn't really know about the war.
The El Dorado was the command ship for the landing at Iwo Jima during the Second World War. And before my time on the El Dorado, it was also the command ship for the landing of mining of Haiphong Harbor in Vietnam. Then when I was on the El Dorado, it was an amphibious warfare command ship. It was one of our secret ships, so to speak. So that was, the work we did was very clandestine and very top secret, and it was exciting. But at the same time, you don't talk about it.
Yeah. So being, I guess, taken from Japan back to California, what was that like for you to go back from Japan, which you were probably starting to get used to a little bit, and then be, sent back to the United States?
The analogies that I have probably are not really appropriate here. I've never been in prison, but I could almost imagine what it's like to get released from prison when we landed back in Coronado Island.
You got out of the Navy, like we talked about, in May of 1973. What was it like to go from serving back to a normal life, so to speak?
Not scary. Different.
Yeah.
Maybe a little scary. I know this doesn't make sense, but the feeling of exuberance and freedom is just my goodness. When we came back and they debriefed us and we decommissioned out of the service, it was just like my entire life. It was a whole load off your back,
Yeah.
Like Atlas just dropped the world and now he's shaking his shoulders.
Right. So coming back and seeing your family again, after communicating through letters for so long, what was that like for you?
My goodness. My little brothers were grown up. I mean, you don't see them for 2 or 3 years, but when they're as young as my youngest brother Paul was, in 2 or 3 years, they can grow 6 to 9 inches. Right. It was just amazing.
Right. And now your overall experience of the Navy, when you think back to 1969 through 1973, what's your greatest takeaway?
That I got to serve.
Yep. You fulfilled that family legacy. I know. It's emotional for you.
Oh my. Friends lost. I got to serve my country.
So that's what you still look back and really take away, that,
Number one.
Yep. And I mean, you're a hero to so many people. What's that been like for you? I mean, family and friends thanking you for your dedication back then.
We're not heroes. Just doing our job.
Yeah.
Just doing our job. There are heroes, and I know a lot of them. I'm not one of them. But I am very thankful that I had the opportunity to serve.
And now looking back with your friends and everything, I mean, what do you guys talk about now, today, when you guys look back at your time overseas and in different states?
Depends on the day and the time.
Yep.
There's times to laugh and there's times to cry. We gather on Veterans Day.
Right. That's
our time to remember.
Yeah. And when you remember those people, that were lost, I mean, what kind of memories does that bring back?
Oh my goodness. They asked me this at the VA. It's, you never forget.